Hello, hello. We've got a new episode of the Sync podcast. These past few weeks have been incredible. Our Instagram page grew to over 200,000 women. I still cannot wrap up my head around it. It's amazing. And I want to thank you all for trusting me and for allowing me to be part of your journey. And with this rapid growth, my inbox got also full. I receive hundreds of messages from you on a daily basis, both on Instagram and also on my email. And I'm trying to respond to all of your questions. And I'm trying to be there for you, but I'm still a one-man show. And some days I just cannot get to your message and I cannot respond to you all. So today I want to turn this episode into a response to some of your questions. So today I want to speak to you about a topic that keeps coming back in the messages that I get from you. So let's talk about it. PMS. I want to explain to you today what is it? What is causing it? What could be some of the root causes of your symptoms that you're experiencing, but also what you can do to start to minimize and manage these symptoms better. And if you stay till the end, you will hear about my next program, which I'll give you a hint, is very much connected to the topic of today's episode. So you know that week just before your period when you suddenly feel or even act like you're not yourself. Maybe it's anxiety, irritability, mood swings, sore breasts, cramps, bloating, headaches. Maybe it's spotting. Maybe you start to doubt every single move you're about to make. Your energy plummets. You just don't feel like yourself. So if symptoms like this show up in a cyclical pattern, meaning that they show up every month around the same time, just before your period, you can cluster them, you can categorize them as PMS symptoms. Now, PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome, which really means a cluster, a collection of different symptoms that you experience in the weeks prior to your period, prior to your menstruation. And I say weeks because for some of you, it's not only the 5 days just before your period when you experience these symptoms, but for some of you, these symptoms might start sooner, such as, you have the sore breast, which typically start just after you ovulate. So that means for about 2 weeks, your breast will be, plump and juicy, but extremely, extremely painful. And I myself, I've suffered from horrible PMS symptoms, but I didn't know that they were even PMS symptoms, and I didn't know that for years. I was lacking this awareness of my menstrual cycle because all I knew about my cycle was that I got a period once a month, and I was really completely unaware of all the other phases of the menstrual cycle. So I never really connected these symptoms to my menstrual cycle. I really looked at them as random. And I was trying, to find some explanations for like why was I experiencing them, but nothing really seemed to make sense. So in my own journey of healing from these symptoms and also having worked with so many women in my coaching experience, I started to identify some patterns. So I identified 3 different milestones or stages that you go through when it comes to these PMS symptoms. So the very first stage is awareness. And when you are in this stage, so you realize that you experience these mood swings, the pain and the discomfort, and you realize that they are connected to a cyclical pattern in your menstrual cycle. So you're aware that there is a pattern that repeats itself every month, and you notice that the symptoms usually come around the same time in each cycle. But while you are indeed aware of the fact that they are connected to your cycle, you don't really know what is causing them. You don't know why you feel like this. And you don't really know what you can do to make yourself feel better. Maybe you've tried to medicate, like, for instance, ibuprofen for the headaches, for the cramps. Or, maybe you've tried to get outside and just clear your mind whenever you feel like cranky. Or about to throw a tantrum. I remember those. I was horrible with those tantrums. Or, maybe you've tried to call a friend or, someone who makes you feel safe and you can just release all of that intensified emotion and all the tension from within. And maybe you even try to speak to a healthcare practitioner, and all you heard back was that it's PMS and it's normal. I know that I have heard that myself so many times. And yes, it's PMS and it is extremely common. In fact, about, 80% of the women with a menstrual cycle will get to experience some of the PMS symptoms at least once in their life. So yes, PMS is very, very common, but it's not normal. And I'll tell you why I truly believe that it's not normal. Let's rewind a little bit to what we talked about in the previous episode. So your body's main mission is to keep balance in the body. And your only responsibility then becomes to provide your body with the right nutrients and with the right environment to help it maintain that balance. And when you're not doing something that is helping your body reestablish that balance, your body will give you some symptoms, because symptoms are simply the sign language your body is using to tell you that you are doing something wrong. And, it can be something in your diet. Maybe it's your work, your stress levels. Maybe it's in the way that you handle your relationships at home with your kids, coworkers. Maybe you expose yourself to toxins. You smoke, you consume alcohol, the toxins in the products that you use, in the household products, in cosmetics. So if your body is designed to make you feel good, to find that balance, and if symptoms are simply a sign language that your body is using to tell you that something is off, then it means that PMS symptoms are not normal. It's not something that you just accept because you were born in a female body and just because you have a menstrual cycle. Because if you do that, if you just accept them as being normal, you are literally cutting off that line of communication between you and your body. It's really like when a friend is trying to get in touch with you, right? They try to talk to you and you simply pretend that you don't hear them. So they call on your mobile, they text you, and then probably they send you some emails, some letters, they call your parents' house, they call your work, and you just let them go to voicemail. What happens to you if you do that? Well, that friend soon will stop being your friend because now they lost trust in you. And do you want that to happen to your own body? Because when you are accepting something like symptoms as being normal, you're literally doing just that. And your body is trying to be your biggest ally, and it can become your biggest ally, but you have to build this trust with it. And you have to nurture this connection with your body every single day. All right, tangent over, back to the 3 stages. So we had the first one. The first one was awareness. Now, once you're aware of these symptoms being connected to your cycle, you start to observe and decode some of these symptoms. And I call this second stage the stage of analysis. Now, by now, you are already much more in touch with your body. Because maybe you started tracking your cycle, you take notes of your symptoms, you track your moods, your thoughts, maybe you journal a little bit, and maybe you even realize that there are some foods in your diet that are making things worse for you, or maybe there is a certain person in your life that intensifies these symptoms, or maybe it's the way that you handle stress at work. And if you identify yourself as being here at this stage, but you are not yet tracking your cycle consistently, I say this with all my love. You will be stuck here at this stage for a while. Why? Because for you to hop on the next stage, stage 3, you need to have a solid record of daily check-ins with yourself. Remember, tracking your cycle is an exercise that rebuilds trust with your own body. It's about that line of communication between you and your body, because the feedback loops will start to get faster and they will be more accurate the more you work on this relationship between you two. And the only way to build trust with your own body is through regular check-ins. And you have to do this for 2-3 minutes a day. It doesn't take you longer than that. And you cannot do these check-ins mentally. You cannot just take mental notes, thinking about the symptoms that you're experiencing, because you need to be able to observe some trends. You have to see some patterns. Because if I ask you now, how did you feel on day 25 of your previous cycle? I guarantee that you cannot describe that day, because you have a million things going on in your mind every single moment. And imagine our heads would be a mess if we just remembered everything with such detail. Do yourself a favor and start tracking your cycle. And if you don't know where to start, you can start using the tracker that I'm using and also other thousands of women in our community are using. It's in the footnotes of the episode, so you can simply just download it from there and start the work. All right, so that's stage 2. Stage 2 is all about practicing. You collect the data, you batch the data points, you observe the trends, and you start doing the analysis. It's really like in any research paper. All right, so now you are confident that you know some of your symptoms. Maybe you're already starting to see some patterns. You start to piece things together. You already applied some generic advice on how to manage these symptoms. Maybe you've reduced the amount of caffeine during that 1 week before your period. Maybe you started to eat fiber throughout your cycle, more fiber, like veggies rich in fiber. Or maybe you decreased the intensity of your workouts during those 5 days before your period. And probably it had an effect on you. Your energy levels are now more stable. Or another one, maybe you started having more savory breakfast instead of coffee and croissants. So now your cravings are less intense during those days. So you see some of the symptoms fading away. You feel like you are getting better, like you have more control over your body. I call this stage the stage of healing, because here's where healing happens. By now, you've rebuilt the trust with your own body because you've been tracking consistently your cycle. As a result of that, now the feedback loops between you and your body are faster than ever before. So if you had, for instance, a very stressful period at work, and you already feel that you will have a rough premenstrual phase because of that, you already know now the strategies that you can apply to balance things out. And so you minimize the impact of that stressful week at work. So you can better plan and better prevent things now. And when you're in this stage, you can speed up your healing if you now categorize your symptoms. And if you apply what I call targeted remedies for each specific symptom that you have. Because we've got 5 different categories of PMS symptoms. We've got type A, which stands for anxiety, C, cravings, D, depression, H, hyperhydration, and P, pain. And each group, each category, each type has different symptoms, different causes, and different treatments. Because if you are, for instance, experiencing, let's say, puffiness in your legs or in your fingers or your face, you're bloated, this could be a sign that your body might need some support, some extra support with the electrolytes. Maybe the potassium and sodium levels are not balanced. So, if you follow generic advice that you hear that during the luteal phase, our bodies naturally need more hydration, and you will start drinking now water with some salt in it or water with electrolytes, this is not going to help you with your swollen legs the way that you have imagined. This is indeed generic advice that is valid, but is not going to give you the exact results that you're looking for. And when you understand your symptoms and you pair them with the remedy that targets the possible root cause, it's really more likely to find the perfect fit. I really like the Cinderella and her glass slipper. And now, if you need guidance in this journey, and if you want to speed up your journey through these 3 milestones that I just explained, through these 3 stages, I've created a program that is designed to do just that. The program is called Bye PMS Club, and it might just be the program for you. When I created this program, my intention was first, I wanted to make it as condensed as possible because I know you want to spend as little time as possible learning and studying about these things, and you want to put things into practice as fast as you can. Second, you want things structured, well organized, and easy to understand. And if you downloaded already the cycle tracker, if you're working with it, I think you can tell by now that I am extremely structured and detailed at the same time. And I really like to keep things simple at the same time. And that's the standard that I set for myself in the work that I do. And many of you've asked for my coaching guidance to help you treat your PMS symptoms. And I tell you this, you don't need me to walk this path with you. Instead, what you need to do is to find that trust in your body. You need to rebuild that trust in yourself, because menstrual health is really a tool that brings to the surface the sense of intuition. And I don't mean intuition in a psychic way, but intuition in a sense that you will be able to feel into what is naturally going to be good for you. You're going to be able to make choices for yourself that will make you feel better, because ultimately you are the only one that knows what's best for you. And I want you to first build this trust in yourself and not rely on external people to tell you what to do. Save your money for the live coaching sessions when you can truly deepen your connection with yourself and when you can unlock more of this cyclical power that's inside of you. And so another priority for this program was to keep it as affordable as possible. I kept it to as much as a dinner out in the city. So you can consider it a dinner with me where we spend a few hours together and I teach you everything you need to know about PMS and how you can treat your own type of PMS. The program is out in September, so we've only got a few weeks left. And the 2 lucky winners who subscribe and leave a written review of the show on the platform where you're watching this or you're listening to this will win a spot in this program. The show is published on more platforms indeed, but you currently have the option to write comments or leave reviews only on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. So be mindful of that. The contest will continue for one more episode, so this means that you still have more than a week to register, and the winners will be announced in episode number 11. Don't worry, you have all the details about the contest in the footnotes of this episode. And we're going to continue our conversation about PMS in the next few episodes, because there's a lot to talk about. That's all for today. If you learned something new, please share this episode with another woman in your life. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me reach more women who can learn from these conversations. Stay well, and I see you next time.